Hey guys, Bibbs here, welcome back to Jams and Drams. I think it's Father's Day everywhere in the world, or certainly the UK and the US. So not sure if there's going to be too many of you hanging around to watch this. But yeah, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And welcome if you are sneaking in to watch this. I'm being a little bit under the weather today, so I might do a bit of a shorter one and not much planned. But yeah, if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from and how everyone's doing well. So if you're new to this, Jams and Drams is my weekly hangout with guitars and whiskey usually. I'm not actually drinking, as I say, I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I think I might have got a bit of sunstroke and I was going to bail, but I've managed to do this every week now for 15 weeks. So I'm quite... when I'm feeling a bit under the weather, I think I'm going to try and continue to do it. So no dramming tonight. I'm going to be sensible and just have soft drinks. So, been some huge news in the gear world, and I was going to put together like a video, and then wanted to let my thoughts settle a little bit, and then by the time kind of got those thoughts together, I thought maybe a live stream would be more useful. So if you're remotely interested in the kind of guitar gear world, you'll have been aware of the Helix Stadium announcement this week from Line 6. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, and it's been quite the bombshell. Helix is coming upon 10 years. I think that was the whole launch event that they were doing. Well, it wasn't really a launch event. It was billed as a like a celebration of 10 years of the Helix. But the suspicion was, and the rumor was, that they were going to launch something. Indeed, they did. They've announced the new flagships, the Helix Stadium and Stadium XL. So I'm not going to really cover. By now, if you're watching this, I'm sure most of you guys will be aware of what they are, but I just wanted to kind of but just kind of think through some of the implications to it. I don't know, and to maybe get some of your guys' opinions on what you think about it. I'm also going to potentially be doing some playing. Well, I am going to be doing some playing. I'm going to try and practice through some of the changes to Inner Urge. I've been doing that this week a little bit on and off. So I might just get my fingers going and while people are joining. So what I can do with this, it doesn't sound great, it's just our real backing tracks, but I can get this on the screen at the same time so you can see what I'm doing if you don't know the tune. So Joe Henderson tune. It's kind of, well, modal, non-functional, I guess you'd say, for the most part, really. These interesting structures, a lot of major 7 kind of sharp 11 chords, and it's kind of tricky to play over. Lulls you into a false sense of security because you get, even though it can be quite quick, you get these 4 bars of held chords. At the end, for the last 8 bars, you can see here, it just kind of rattles through these shifting sounds. And it's got a really tricky head as well, a notoriously tricky head. I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to be just playing through it and trying to get the fingers going. In fact, I'm going to start off doing some chilled opens 8 stuff. man. Yeah, it was a great chat with Leon. Great to catch up with him. Boy, cheers, man. Hey, Herb. How's it going, man? Cool. So yeah, fingers are what they are. How is everyone doing? We've got Jeffrey, nice to see you. English boy watching from Tenerife, weather cooking hot. Fantastic. Has it Tenerife? Yeah, but it's must be getting warm over there. It's pretty warm here though, too, at the moment. Let's take this up again another notch. Let's do another couple. Not too many. Thanks, dude. I'm trying the trick that you discovered in that video. The last 8 bars, just taking down the minor pentatonics. It's kind of addictive, and I hate it because it works. So here. See, it just works. It's such a hack, but man, yeah, what a find that was. But it's also not, whilst it is a hack and it's cool, it also can still allow, I still find I'm able to kind of connect and target things within it, which is kind of nice. So good find, man. And I can't believe that you or I don't know, I've never come across that before. Have you tried it much? Kind of comes off the rails a bit, but yeah. So, any of you guys watching, Tom has discovered this video with this. I should have linked to it in the description, really, where playing minor pentatonics over the last 8 bars, just shifting it down, which is why I was saying it's tricky. But if you start on like a C sharp minor pentatonic on the E major 7, and then just take that down from C sharp, C, D, yeah, it's really cool. Mark, now up to speed. Haha, what's going on here? Standard or something a bit more complicated? Sounds great though. Yeah, like I think it's up to speed. Oh, what's the original? Is it how fast is the original again? It is quick. I certainly can't do it at full speed. I can't. How fast is it? I can't remember the rest of the head. I'll have a couple of goes like this, but. not as let's take it back to stepdad speed, as Uncle Ben would say. Yeah, it's appropriate for Father's Day. Hey Bart, yep, just discovered Joe. Okay, yeah. It's stuff that was really, because I kind of had a real, some of you may know, a weird journey with the kind of jazz enjoyment thing. And a lot of, on my time travel journey back to enjoying the early stuff, I went through a lot of Joe Henderson, and I was, maybe it's just the guitar player in me, but I definitely got into like, I don't know, like Wayne Shorter and Joe Henderson and Coltrane before doing like what probably should do, you know, in terms of bebop stuff and early stuff. Now I am into that now, but I've taken that kind of backwards journey, so probably started in the wrong place, so I always do. But yeah, great discovery, and so much to dig into listening wise. Such a quirky, beautiful set of chords as well. So I'm playing through, just because it's subject to the stream, I'm playing through, is this going to work? Oh no, I don't think it will. I think it's died. I've got a camera above there that you now can't see anything on. So I'm playing through my HX Stomp, subject to the stream is the Line 6 announcement. And I thought it was a really interesting announcement, really. Not just what they did announce, but what they didn't announce, and what was half announced even. If you pay attention to any of the kind of tech world and watch product launches and things, it had an element like quite the actual presentation itself had a little bit of that to it, in terms of, you know, when some of the way that they kind of did the presentation was obviously inspired by some of these kind of tech launches, but in a real kind of like almost like homegrown kind of way. It was a bit more like relatable. It's kind of I really enjoyed it, and I got the sense, really got the sense that Line 6, whilst being a big corporate thing tied to Yamaha, it sort of feels like they kind of care about the customers and the actual product, like they actually do like the thing. Yeah, they've got to make a lot of money for Yamaha, but I think Line 6, I get the feeling like those guys actually really kind of care about it. Hey Lawrence, how's it going, man? Yeah, no drums tonight. I think I might have got a bit of sunstroke today whilst in the garden doing some weeding. I think I'm allergic to good gardening. So I had to lie down this afternoon, and I was thinking about just cancelling the stream because I just felt really unwell this afternoon. So yeah, I thought it would be sensible to not do the dramming and just stick to soft drinks. Well, and so, but yeah, looking forward to our chat next week, Lawrence. That'll be cool. If you're still good for it. Danny, rock guitar, Oz. Hi David, do you teach online classes? I do teach. I've got courses available. So the app Solo. So if you want to, I don't know if you talking about that, or if you're talking about like one-to-one kind of Zoom classes. I do those as well, not as much lately these days, but you can always send me an email through my website if you're looking for lessons one-to-one like that, and we can have a chat and see where it goes. But yeah, I've got my courses, Ultimate Fretboard Visualization course, the Solo app, and some stuff on my own website, and then like bonus lessons and things on my Patreon as well. That's another thing to consider. But thanks for the interest. Jumbo, you have one of those positive grid amps and it's surprisingly good. Yeah, a lot of people do say those are good and cool little things. Yeah, I don't think I've experienced it myself, but yeah, so going back to the thing with it, Line 6, it felt like the presentation, like the guys in Line 6 sort of, you know, there is a sort of an appreciation and a care for not just the customers but the product itself. It doesn't feel like you know, I get the impression like because it's Yamaha, you could assume that it could feel far more corporate than it does. I think is what surprised me. It felt a little bit more like just, you know, regular people doing it. And the maybe somewhat naivety of the announcement is, because some of the, you know, there was an awful lot announced, but so much also not announced, and even more interestingly, like half announced things that is it Eric or Ethan Klein? Eric Klein, I think it is. He was saying like maybe I shouldn't say this, or maybe you know, I had to Photoshop things and what have you, and we don't know what's coming. So there's so much that's unknown about it, and perhaps more question marks based off of even coming off of the presentation as well. So super interesting way to kind of half announce a product that may or may not appear, and when it does, it may or may not have, well, the product's definitely coming, but what it's going to actually have is kind of a bit of a weird question mark. My concerns potentially for things like that is, whilst I guess they're not necessarily promising things, like the sort of harkened back to 5 years ago with Neural DSP and the Quad Cortex, like the potential damage that did to the sort of user base or potential fan base for Neural DSP was quite interesting. In like we are now 4 or 5 years out from launch and still, you know, trying to fulfill those original promises. So I guess with Line 6 in this case, they're sort of not really promising a lot, but they're just saying it's an open question mark as to what is coming with it. And that's a real peculiar proposition to make when you're selling something and announcing something, because as a consumer, you really are sort of having to buy into the concept of, well, this is an ongoing experience. Yes, Mark, that is a really good point, and I'm just getting to that actually. That's exactly where I'm going with this, in that you're buying into the ongoing experience, that you should have goodwill. Line 6 has got very goodwill built into it because we've had a previous decade of them really standing by, the Stomp, the Helix, the Floor, all of the ecosystem, and updating it and really transforming it to where the devices are radically more capable. 10 years later, the devices are not that they're unrecognizable, but they are radically more capable in the raw tones and the features and effects than they were at launch. And so there's so much goodwill, I think, baked into Line 6 now at this point from the 2015 Helix launch, that maybe it's enough for people to kind of buy into the next phase and say, okay, well, we're really unsure about what's coming. We don't know if there's going to be, capturing in it at day one. We don't know if it's going to support NAM. We don't know all these things. We don't know but maybe the user base will trust to kind of get on board with it, and trust that those things and more are going to come over the next 10 years. So yeah, the DSP, Mark says there, will be good for updates for a while. Yeah, there's some other question marks with it though that make me think, well, are you kind of buying the same thing again? Like, on the one hand, it's going to be backwards compatible, so you'll still have you'll still have access to all of the HX, Helix amps and all the effects, which is great. But at the same time, that means you're not actually getting, what are you actually paying for in terms of new stuff? Well, all you're getting are the 16 Agora models, as far as I'm aware. So in terms of the raw tones, you're getting 16 amp models of the new engine. I don't think there are any new effects. I don't think there are any. I'm not sure what the cabs model, the back-end cab situation is like. I'll need to check that out again. But yeah, so you can kind of squint and tilt your head and look at it in different ways as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So it's a good thing because you're able to still maintain this through line of access to all your old sounds, and that will carry forward with you. But it sort of hides the ball a little bit that, well, what you're doing is you're buying this into the next generation of the thing, but there's not very much there of the next generation part from the raw tone perspective. However, the thing that is just such a massive wild swing is they are offering some crazy new user experience features, like the focus mode and the tips on screen, the touch screen, the way in which you kind of interact with it, it's like a mini DAW almost, or the showcase mode, in that it can stem split, it can create, be a backing track player, it can do all these things. So there is a whole load of crazy features, power features for running a show that's going to, practicing or performing with, that you're going to be able to do from these, Helix Stadium units. That is really kind of absolutely wild. It's like features that, I would never have even dreamt to think to put into it, or even ask to put into things. So that's what you're really kind of buying, I think, into, rather than the actual tones themselves, because it seems from an actual sound tones perspective, what are you getting? You're getting 16 of the new amps, no new effects. There's no capturing, certainly not in version 1. The proxy thing, as that they're talking about and alluding to, will be there at some point, but it's certainly not to begin with. And what that even is and what it entails, again, there's some major question marks there. So much mystery around what these devices are actually going to look like on day one and then into the immediate future. So yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to see a company take a big swing though with something that's odd a little bit, because yeah, I mean, I can't say. I'm not sure whether it's for me yet in terms of whether it's it interests me on a personal level. From just a curiosity perspective of like, you know, gear and stuff it does, but from a personal level for me, what matters absolute paramount to me is how does something sound and feel, and so I mean, if the 16 new amp models, the Agora amp models, were like noticeably, meaningfully better than the Fractal stuff, or than, you know, whatever your other favorite thing might be, then for me that would be like definitely worth it. But that's the question mark. Yeah. Anyways, that's my current thoughts on it. It's I think it's like something that yeah, Mark, that's it. Yeah. So they've been so good with updates. They know it's a selling point. Yeah. And I think they know it's a trust point. Yeah. So it's a selling point that they are, you know, they've baked in so much goodwill as to the trust in that, well, yeah, someone's going to drop $2,000 on the promise of future things, because we know we've had 10 years of that from the previous generation. So I think it would be a very different proposition if, say, let's say Neural DSP were, you know, in 3 years' time or whatever, 4 years' time, we're doing a big announcement of Quad Cortex 2 or whatever it might be, and they were saying the same things. I'm not so sure as there would be the same kind of goodwill. Obviously, it's got a lot of fans, but I think the trust aspect of them being able to deliver might not have the same baked-in confidence with the people. I'm sure it would still absolutely sell, because nobody markets as well, I think, as Neural, but DSP. But and I'm sure it's still a great product, but just the raw nature of what is being sort of sold and asked of the consumer to kind of buy into is an interesting one. Hey Basil, how's it going, man? Just joined. Nothing beats the Fractal stuff. For my opinion, yes, I would still argue. I still think that if I've gone to the head desert island device, it would be, as I was chatting with Leon last week, it would be the FM3. I still think, when all's said and done, it's the best. The FM3, in terms of how much you get and how good it is, it's hard to beat. The HX Stomp is pretty close in that it's half the price, but you know, the FM3 has like over 3 times as many amplifier models. You know, there's just so many more effects. I mean, it's just the quantity with the Fractal stuff is enormous, and then the quality is also as good as anything else or better. So it's very hard to beat Fractal. And I find it interesting when the companies are they almost pretend as if, and maybe you have to do this from a business standpoint, but they sort of pretend that other companies don't exist. And I know that they're very, very different, but it just feels like the acknowledgement is, I don't know, just a little bit odd. Yeah, Basil, and sounds the least digital. I mean, things like that are subjective, aren't they? I mean, I think all of the stuff these days can sound great. I think all of them can sound amazing, but in terms of like usability and quantity and how easy it is to get sounding great, I think that's another matter maybe. It took me a long time to get to know the Stomp. The other thing with like the Helix architecture is Like with Fractal, how Fractal's core amp modeling gets better throughout a device, the age of a device through the years. They've done the same with the Helix architecture, in that the amps that they're adding in the last year or two are, I think, much better and more convincing than the early models. So this one I'm playing through here, this Super Reverb, I think it's a fantastic sounding Fender amp. And I've got this set up to do the jazz kind of thing here, but you know, it really does sound and feel like a pretty decent Fender Blackface amp. Some of the other things that they've added more recently, like I think some of the what's the other ones that some of the like EVH, I think, and the Rev stuff, and the more recent models, yeah, really convincing, more so I think than the early, very first Helix models. So what would be interesting to me, and I don't think they do this, and correct me if I'm wrong if somebody knows this, but I don't think they remaster the original models. So guys, they were saying in the presentation that your older presets and the older Helix models will sound better on the new hardware because of just general better audio components and things. I don't think they go back and remaster and like remodel the original amps. So I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like the amps that were launched with the first, you know, version 1 of the Helix are basically the same. They might sound better because the cab engine's been improved, etc. But I don't think they remastered them. Whereas with the Fractal guys, I know Cliff and that, they go and are continually improving all of the amps, all hundreds of them, which is kind of astonishing, really. Let's go back to doing some inner. Thought that was gone flat. Weather's been super warm, so I've had the air conditioning on, and I think it's just set my guitar's tuning. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on the stadium at the moment. If anyone else has got any thoughts, I'd be interested to hear them. But yeah, super curious to. Oh, other thing that was a bit weird. decision is to not include scribble strips on the Stadium. There's a Stadium and Stadium XL. The XL has an expression pedal, and then Stadium doesn't. The XL also has scribble strips above the switches, and the Stadium doesn't. I think most people can we're happy to get rid of the expression pedal because you can add that as an optional extra. So most people are happy to get rid of the built-in expression pedal, but the scribble strips are really handy features on like Fractal stuff on the Helix floor and etc. So it's one of those things where, as a decision because they're both the Stadium and the Stadium XL are both supposed to be flagship devices. So yeah, a little bit weird that the flagship, the smaller one, doesn't have the scribble strips. Yeah. Why don't I put that back on? Yeah. So I'll just do some concentrated connection practice through these last 8 bars. Basil, yeah, well that's yeah, Tom's done some amazing versions of that, but obviously Joe Henderson, there's been some other phenomenal versions too, but yes, I've had many a terrifying jam with Tom trying to play this tune. Mark, can you briefly explain the progression? Well, it's one of those progressions where, it's relatively straightforward to explain, in that we're not looking at anything too crazy functionally. You can basically just, it's not functional, it's non-functional and modal. So you can kind of look at them as colours, from just islands from chord to chord, really. It's not even like proto-modal where you've got, kind of modal-like progressions. It literally is like very sort of non-functional. So F sharp minor 7 flat 5. So you can treat that as like an F sharp Locrian sound, or Locrian with a natural 9. So it giving you that kind of melodic minor sort of thing. And then that falls down to F major 7 sharp 11. So in a very unambiguous, going to do a Lydian thing. And then largely these just Lydian kind of sounds, these structures, these kind of constant structures, as kind of referred to, E flat. And then basically the rest of the tune there. So E flat, Lydian, D flat Lydian, and then here we get the tricky part here, so the 8 bars, where it's quickly shifting from E major 7 sharp 11, D flat, and it kind of has this little, if you like, theme, if you like, or motif, and it's going from down, minor third, then up a half step, down a minor third, up a half step, and the same, this kind of just repeats, then from the up to the A, major 7, and then the next one, B flat 7, that's going to be like a Lydian dominant kind of thing. So another kind of melodic minor thing, but B flat Lydian dominant, and then G major 7 as well. So again, just G Lydian. You don't have to sort of really, like, there's no like super hard kind of complex kind of harmony, kind of functional harmony thing going on really with this kind of stuff. Code JavaScript with Hassan. Yeah, it can be, scales can be monotonous, and I mean, probably, in fact, one way to sort of like practice, I think, like, any kind of application is to sort of take a step back from scales, even on things like this, where this kind of a tune is very, you've got sort of longer sections, it's more non-functional and modal, so you can kind of do the scale thing. From a visualization perspective, if you think about it with the solo app, like, we kind of structure the app in a way that is, even if you were going to start looking at something like this tune, we wouldn't suggest scale straight away. From a visualization perspective, you can do all kinds of like exercises by just giving yourself a limitation of saying, okay, I'm going to only find the applicable threes. Basil, is this the solo app you're using? No, this is iReal. This is just as a backing track play along kind of creator for chart reading. The solo app, I will do a stream on this, I will do a lesson stream. I can't get it set up today because the camera that I was using just up here has obviously died. But I will do that another time. So yeah, I could give myself like exercises where Mark, I'll just address that. Yeah, so non-functional, you've heard that term. So non-functional means that like the chords are not really, I guess, non-tonal, or would be another sense, a way of kind of talking about it, where there's no clear tonal center. There's nothing that sort of feels or sounds like, feels like home. Hey Jason, good to see you, man. Yeah. Isn't Inner Urge a song about whiskey? uh, my inner urge for whiskey. I don't have that today. Yeah, just soft drink. Disappointing, I know. I have to change the name of the stream. So, yeah, so there's no like tonal center. There's like, when we refer into like functional harmony or tonal harmony, you have, imagine you've got like an engine and there are three parts to it. You've got home, the tonic part of the engine, which is home. You've got the move away from home, which would be the subdominant part of the engine, and then the dominant, which is where you're really far from home. You've got like tension, and that takes you back home. And if you imagine these kind of all kind of chords can basically function in those three areas, and there's other functions as well, or but largely speaking, even the other colours and the other more exotic functions that you might have within a functional piece are still all about just getting you back home, you know. So we're home, we move away from home, and we get back home. That's what we refer to with largely with functional harmony. And you can kind of feel and sense and hear where those three parts of the engine are. So something like this, it's really not, you know, these are just islands of sound almost. Yeah. Oh, what was I saying? Yeah, so in terms of practicing, so what I might do is just give myself, from a visualization perspective, I might just give myself the limitation to say, well, I'm going to just hit threes, the applicable threes throughout this. So this is the flat 3 of F sharp minor 7 flat 5. I can hold this through, and now this becomes the 3 of F major 7, and kind of use it as a visualization exercise. Now I can come down to the 3 of the E flat major 7, that's 3 against E flat, and now I can go to the F, which is the 3 of D flat major 7, and then G sharp, which would be the 3, F, F sharp, and D sharp, E, C sharp, D. Now I'm thinking of these in intervals, but like I'm saying the actual raw notes there just to kind of somewhat make it do it out loud. But yeah, just taking over the last 8 again there, just highlight those. So yeah, just from a visualization perspective again, I could look at any of those root notes, and this is what we do within the solo app, and like within the Ultimate Fretboard Visualization courses teach this kind of stuff. So you know, you can get good at practicing and just like highlighting, being able to target at will the actual intervals within any given sound, and not just have to run up a big scale shape, because it's kind of like no, Mark, I'm playing what I'm doing is, that's a good question, but I'll just explain that a little bit clearer. So what I'm doing is, if it's a minor 7 chord, so well, if it's a minor 7 flat 5 chord, the appropriate 3 that is built into the chord, that makes up the chord and the harmony of the chord, is a minor third, is a flat 3. On the major chords, the major 7 chords, the appropriate applicable 3 that builds the chord is a major 3. So that's why it looks like I'm sort of playing both, but it depends on the chord. So if it's a minor chord, it's going to have a minor third. If it's a dominant chord, it's going to have a major third. So, within the framework of the solo app and the kind of visualization thing, we try to not use like major third or minor third. We just try to say 3 or flat 3, and to tie this into this concept of intervallic functions, which is more related for the visualization of the 2-point system on the neck. But yeah, that's it is the same thing, but I think it's a little, when we were developing this stuff, it was clearer to use the term intervallic functions than to be confusing people with like classical sort of more interval distances, because we're applying it specifically to the neck in for the 2-point system thing. So I could do it with whatever intervals. I could do it with a 5, flat 5, and again this becomes the regular 5 of the F major 7, and then drop that a tone there to the 5 of E flat. So I'm always able to target whatever interval of the chord I want or scale, and I haven't got to run a big shape to find it. I can just find it against the root notes. So these are all the 5s applicable for each chord. Now to the 7s. The flat 7 against the F sharp. The major 7 now against the F major. And the E flat major, 7 is the D flat major. Obviously this is just a half step below any given root note, so it's relatively easy to find this one. And you can kind of like challenge yourself with it and do it like sort of make, you know, so you could challenge yourself and sort of with limitations in terms of the fretboard where you are, or like purposely skipping strings or not skipping strings. There's so many possibilities of what you could do with it. Hey Sol, how's it going? What else could we do? Oh, another thing you could do, I've done a lesson on this I think on my channel a little while ago, but you can also like just like hold a note. This is a really good exercise actually, I find. I won't do this with the backing track to start with, but just like choose a note almost at random. Actually no, choose a note that fits the first chord. So this one is F sharp minor 7 flat 5. So I'm going to choose the flat 5, so the C here. So I'm going to think this through, like my goal here is to hold this note through the whole tune, through the whole progression, hold this C, and then think, what does that become functionally against each chord? This is a really, really great exercise. So against the F sharp minor 7 flat 5, this note here is the flat 5. So it goes through to the F, it becomes the 5. As it goes to the E flat, this becomes the 6. As it changes to the D flat major, it becomes the 7. As it changes to the E major 7, sharp 11, this now becomes like the flat 6. To the D flat major 7, it becomes the 7. To the, oh, I should have just said as well, now that doesn't belong in the chord or the scale. It's going to be, it's like wrong if you like, or it's like, you know, non-diatonic. But the point is just by holding this note, I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of aware of what it would be functionally. It's just a good exercise. Over the D major 7, it would be the flat 7, which is also not in the chord or scale. And it would be the flat 9 against the B. So just thinking intervallically, like how does each note that I'm holding is going to function against each chord. And what you can do, if it doesn't fit the chord, if it is, you know, chromatic or non-diatonic to it, you could shift it up or down a fret to make it fit, and then think what that would be. So a really good exercise to do would be like this. Like, I'll do that. So it's going to be the flat 5. It's going to become the 5. Now this one I can hold it for, so it's going to become the 6. Now the 7. Now I'm going to shift this down to the 5 to make this fit the chord. So I'm just moving it here to... Oh, thanks, Basil. Yeah, I think the app is very useful. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think still, you know, it's not the only way to practice, of course, but it is very useful. I think for visualization and kind of thinking, starting to think in a more detail-oriented manner, I think it's very helpful. Yeah. Little Jack, David, have you ever practiced with the Abezold books? I did a little bit at college. I was not in the right place, mindset, or ability level to get the most from them. I'd probably be able to get a lot more from them now these days. But yeah, I don't know. I've used the backing tracks a lot. But the books themselves were largely just about the backing tracks, really, weren't they? I think maybe some of the earlier volumes were about, you know, what scales, etc., against what chords. They're not particularly, I guess, all that useful for sort of the language-based thing. I think they were just mainly like the play-alongs was the main benefit to them. Jason, note functionality is fascinating. How different notes are different role in their relevant chords. Yeah, well, that's something that I think is super interesting and a really useful skill to kind of wrap the head around, being able to think through and hear through as quickly as you can. That to me was a massive piece of the puzzle, unlocking the puzzle, being able to see the through line of being able to connect chords together with a lead line, like a melody line, without having to kind of shift and jump around all over the fretboard. And it was that kind of functional aspect of each note, the intervallic function of each note, as we refer to it as, that really helps that. Being able to do that in real time, you know, is so powerful. I think I first did it on Probably All the Things. I think this was probably one of the first times this really kind of clicked for me. Was it this tune? I do remember there was a point where something really clicked. It might have been something like this, so this really famous standard, not exactly a super easy one, but it's a very popular one that people do a lot. Just like playing thirds and sevenths through this tune, but I think it was this one where I was holding to the flat 3 against the F minor, and I could see that was the flat 3, and then as it changes to the B flat, I kind of was like, that's the same note I'm holding, but the chords change to B flat now, and that's now the flat 7 against it. It's like, well, that means that I could, in theory, if I wanted to make life easier, I could play the flat 3 against the F minor, and as the chord changes, that's going to kind of work nicely as becoming the flat 7 of the B flat minor 7. And that means I can play less and potentially say more, you know, musically. So there's little things like that started to click from having that kind of detail-orientated ability to kind of see the harmony on the fretboard. Allowed me to kind of hear it and then understand it, how it's sort of moving. It's a real penny, drop moment. Yeah. Yeah, so probably not going to do too much more today because, like I say, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I wanted to keep to my schedule. Next week, I'm going to be joined by fantastic UK guitar player Lawrence Harrison, who sometimes appears in the chat. Should be doing a joint stream with Lawrence next week. If you don't know Lawrence, then go and check out his channel and his playing on Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, fantastic sort of modern jazz fusion type guitar player. some really interesting thoughts and perspectives on things. So I'm looking to be digging into some stuff with him next week. And I've got some more people lined up as well coming into July and August. I'm trying to sort of book and plan things out a couple of months, and yeah, still do these individual kind of solo kind of practice shedding the streams. But has anyone got any questions or anything you want me to talk about or play or cover before I wind this down? One more crack, I reckon. A bit slower again. finish on a bad one. Whatever. Cool. Okay then, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like I say, tune in next week. I'll have a joint stream with Lawrence Harrison. Oh, didn't realise there was some more. more. I had not scrolled down. Yeah, Little Jack. iReal sounds terrible. I know it's not great. The reason I use it for the streams is because if you like, because I can put it onto the split screen. So you can, those of you that perhaps don't know the changes, whatever, you can see it sort of as I'm practicing and working on it. You can see it kind of moving along, which is kind of useful from a perspective of kind of just showing what I'm doing. Yeah. So I'll maybe talk about some like line creation and licks next week with Lawrence maybe. Alex Hutchins. Yeah, definitely. That's great. Let's see if I can get in touch with Alex maybe and see if he'd be up for it. BB, it'd be interesting if you could talk about your picking hand sometime. Don't use an anchor. Yeah, we could talk about. In fact, that's one of the things on the list to talk to Lawrence about actually next week, Jason. So is picking stuff. But I could certainly do an isolated chat about that as well. It's a fascinating thing for me picking because I really have issues with it at times. So yeah, especially in these contexts. Who are you listening to these days, guitar player wise? Guitar player wise, I'm back on a big Kreisberg binge. Sal's, Jonathan Kreisberg, Lawrence, as I've just mentioned, like just checking out Lawrence is playing on YouTube and stuff, and Lawrence Harrison. I think all of the kind of fusiony modern kind of players. Other than that, what else am I listening to guitar player wise? I don't know. I have to think about it and dig something out. What was well, it's not guitar, but Jens was Jens Larsen was on the stream and he mentioned that tune 503 Blues. The Wayne Shorter, and I kind of really got into that. Maybe I'll do a shed session on that one week. I've really been digging that lately. Cool. Okay then. Well, I think I've scrolled down. I thought the comments had stopped, and it's just I'd not scrolled down far enough. So, use it error. Well, thanks so much for watching. Hope you all had a good weekend, good Father's Day to all your fathers, and need to give mine a call now, actually. So, yeah. One more plug, Solo app if you want to check out for learn to visualize a fretboard, and the Ultimate Fretboard Visualization course. All those are linked down below. My Patreon is there too if you want any bonus lessons, links, backing tracks, presets for devices and things like that. Hey Jimmy, how's it going, man? Just signing off. Yeah, and links to everything else, Fibonacci guitars, and yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with yeah, stream with Lawrence Harrison. Yeah, thanks Jason. Yeah, I'm gonna go and have an early night, I think, because it's yeah, I think I caught some sunstroke earlier with my allergy to gardening. Cheers, take care everyone, bye.